So let's look at just the representation election cases. These are probably what most readers are thinking of when they read the headline or the press release or the articles that are coming out based on the NLRB release that generally suggest that unions are increasingly seeking to represent employees in the private sector throughout the United States. On the raw numbers, this number is actually higher than the 58% of the total cases. There's a 70% increase year over year for the first 3 quarters in representation election proceedings. However, 313 of those petitions, which is a full 20%, involve Starbucks stores. So if you took out the dramatic number of Starbucks petitions, the year over year increase would only be 36%. Then we say, okay, well, it's still up 36%. Yes, that's true, 36% increase from fiscal year 21. But if we go back to pre-fiscal year 2020 levels, the non-Starbucks cases are basically at the same level as they were pre-fiscal year 2020. What's interesting about fiscal year 2020 and fiscal year 2021? Well, of course, we were under the impact of the coronavirus, COVID-19, isolations and quarantines and lockdowns. And there are various ways to look at these numbers and other federal employment case filing numbers, all of which suggest that there was a dramatic decrease in filings as a result of the pandemic. For various reasons, people weren't actually working. It wasn't as easy to get anything done. It might not have been as easy for unions to try to meet with employees. Employees may not have been as focused on whether they were represented by a union or not. I'm sure there were cases that the pandemic prompted unionization efforts because of the way employees felt they were being treated during the pandemic. But on the whole, it's almost certain that had a big slowdown impact on union organizing for 2 years. So here is some statistical showing of what I just said. These are the total cases involving unions filing to represent employees. And you see the big uptick in the most recent fiscal year. These are all the first 3 quarters of the year statistics for each of these past 6 years. So yes, 1573 is higher than any of these years, but these include the Starbucks cases. When you take Starbucks out, you can see there's 1,260 cases this year, still more than the 2 previous COVID impacted years, but in fact, 1,260 is almost exactly the average number of cases that were filed in the 3 years preceding COVID, which was 1,255. So my interpretation of this data is, yes, there are more cases than there were last year by far. Yes, there are more cases than there were in the last couple of years. Yes, Starbucks is a very unique situation that is no doubt putting additional strain on the National Labor Relations Board staff and their regional offices, but you can certainly evaluate for yourself whether what's going on at Starbucks is as likely to impact your workplace and your employees' interest in unionizing. Certainly, I think there's reasons that, especially if you're not a corporate-owned chain fast casual restaurant, you might say that I'm more like these 1,260 cases than I would be like the 1,500 or so, including the Starbucks cases.